Good afternoon. It is August 25th now. It's a little late in the year. We have decent growth in our garden. We've been harvesting our beans. I'm going to have to actually get specific here and explain to you what kind of summer we've had. It has been wet. It was one of the wetter summers I actually recall, and it's had a significant impact on our garden. So I'm just going to get specifically, we're going to come into the garden. Considering how wet the summer was, like it was so wet. I mean, when it wasn't raining, there was so much humidity hanging in the air that it may as well have been raining. We have harvested some potatoes just to kind of see what we have. With as sickly as these potato plants look, they have produced a lot of potatoes, and I'll show you those in a second. What happened was this garden slopes to this corner right here. So then you got the beans, which grew rather well along this corner. You can see them, and we've had just so you know, and we didn't document it on video. I've been busy doing other things, but we've had 4 pickings off these bean plants. 4th picking being today. So they've produced rather well. But if you notice, as we go along the fence and come down to this corner, you got smaller plants that didn't really grow. There's a bean there, but they didn't really grow, and that's due to the incredible amount of moisture. And same with the potato plants. You can see here, the ones closest to this corner didn't get very tall, and then when you get over here, they're bushier, and the potatoes are bigger. So I harvested potatoes from this very corner, right there, a plant about that size, and it yielded about a dozen little baby potatoes, about the size of, about that big. I'll show you them. The lettuce, a little rough. We've harvested it a few times, and it's at the point now where it's probably all going to go into the compost, which is a shame, but it really wasn't a suitable year, and I think now we know for next year we're probably not going to grow as much lettuce as we did. Potatoes are a really good idea though, because even with this wet year we had a decent yield. Carrots, we've harvested a bit of carrots. Carrots really they didn't go deep. So, I mean, the biggest ones we've pulled out of the ground so far, the carrots, are about at the best a quarter of the diameter of a quarter, the Canadian quarter, but the tap root only went about 4 inches into the ground, so you get this wide enough carrot, but it didn't go deep, and a lot of that has to do with soil compaction, which happened. I mean, we got a record amount of rain this year, so the soil was really compacted. You can actually see here where I dug up some potatoes. What we have here is, and it's all loosened up from me digging around in here, but very, very dense. We never had to water this garden once. If we did, it was just, you know, on a hot day we did some watering to keep them from getting too dry. But fact of the matter is, a lot of soil compaction happened in this garden this year due to a lot of rain. We've had about 3 or 4 pickings, 4 pickings out of these peas. We picked out some parsnips, and in the next few days we'll be picking out our beets and canning them. So we'll probably be doing a video for that. Let's go check out the greenhouse. Oh, we're going to come back to that. I'm going to save the goodies to the end. Oh, wait a second. Let's talk about this. This is our pumpkin, and let me zoom out if I can. Oh, that's as far as I can go. It didn't produce this year. Too wet. These succulent plants like pumpkins and squashes, zucchinis, don't really do well in moist weather. We could have probably, see the greenhouse as well creates too much of a extreme climate for them. So this really wasn't a good year. I think what we're going to do next year is plant our succulent crops like pumpkins and zucchinis and squashes up in our best microclimate on the property, and I'll show you where that is. So that's our pumpkin plant. Did not do well this year. We did learn. Our zucchini, however, it's rotted a bit too, and you can see the rot on the leaves. But if you look down in here, you can see we do have some zooks growing, but now being August 25th, these zooks may not be good to go. I mean, we've only got another month of semi-decent weather, and then we're done. So we may actually have them to use, but we're not counting on it. We've lost all of our kale except for one plant. They got diseased. In the last video I released, that was the last video where they were semi-alive. Let's go over here now. Tomato growth. Like I said, it's August 25th, so happy anniversary to Corey and Courtney. We're getting tomatoes. And this plant looks a little stressed out. I think we've pretty much figured out why it's stressed out. The plants the pots we used, we may have planted them a little too shallow. So we're going to try something different next year. This is all part of the learning process. But Carol was saying she counted, I think, 10 tomatoes. This one here, this plant isn't doing as well, but we're hoping to see them to maturity. This one here is producing a lot more of the tomatoes that were counted. And it'll be probably another 3 weeks before we start seeing them generate some color. And we're going to try and get 1 can of stewed tomato or blanched tomato to put away in our stores. That's the idea anyway. Our pepper plants didn't do all that well. Here's the one pepper plant. It didn't even get past the first stage. So that one's pretty much a write-off. This one here is producing a little tiny pepper. And here's the thing, we know why. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. Yeah? We know why. Why we didn't do so well here with the peppers. They need to be started a lot earlier in the year for up here. Inside, so that when they get into the greenhouse, it's more for growing tall vegetation and getting the fruit out. It didn't make it past the first stage for the most part. And cucumbers, we've harvested a couple off of these plants. Again, we learned from them as well that the pots we used may not have been deep enough for the plant. But I'll show you. There's a cuke right there. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. That's a cuke, and we got a couple more of them that we picked earlier in the last couple of weeks and threw in a salad, and they're delicious. They tasted better than store-bought, for sure. Okay, so now let's move over to one really good kale plant we got here, and this is the best microclimate on the property. Our hollyhocks. Let me zoom out. Our hollyhocks got so heavy, and we strung them up, but they've fallen over. But this is our microclimate. Look at that kale. Look at that kale. We're going to be eating this kale this week. I shouldn't be talking in front of it, but I have a recipe for Zuppa Toscana look it up on the internet. It's an Italian soup that calls for kale. This is very healthy kale. This will taste really good in the soup. It's a potato soup where you use kale. It's a cream-based soup. I tell you what, I'm feeling adventurous enough. I'm going to share the recipe for you. If you've ever eaten at an Olive Garden, they have some items on their menu that are non-stop, where you could just go in and pay the $5–6 for the Zuppa Toscana, and they just keep coming and reloading your soup bowl. And so the recipe I have is, they say, is the exact recipe that Olive Garden uses. And from eating at an Olive Garden, I can say that it tastes about the same. So what I'm gonna do is, on this video, I will post in the description the recipe for Zuppa Toscana. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a separate video. I lied. I'm gonna do a separate video of us making the soup, and I'll leave the recipe on the video. How's that sound? I love kale. You can actually use kale for making kale chips. That's the big thing now. In fact, when we bought this kale plant, it was a bedding plant from Dunvegan Gardens, our local garden shop, because you couldn't get kale seeds. Kale is in such demand right now with the popularity of kale chips, and that we had to buy them in bedding plants. But this one, as you can see, did really well, and we'll be harvesting it in the next few days, and I'll be making a soup with that. And there's its little brother. So, okay, so this one didn't do so well. That one did. And that actually I don't understand. But at any rate, let's go and check the harvest, the bounty. Hey.
I'll let you finish and then I want to show you something.
Alright. So we pulled up a handful of parsnips of various sizes. My wife is really fond of parsnips. I have yet to discover. So just 5 plants, parsnip plants here that we harvested today of various sizes. They seem to turn out alright. A lot of people said when I talked to them about parsnips is they get holy. Because the worms dig holes in them. These ones, however, did not. So, and we've got lots of worms in our garden, so I'm not sure why, but I like it. I like the quality of parsnips here. Okay, so these are the potatoes we dug up. I actually accidentally hit one with the trowel. Sorry. We'll probably still eat that tonight, though. But this is just 2 plants. The one plant, which was down in that wet corner, like I showed you earlier on, that's about the extent of the potatoes that were in that plant. That's as big as they got, but there was about a dozen of them. And if you see, and then the plant on the drier side of the garden yielded us the big ones. Like I said about the carrots and the soil compaction, we've got very wide carrots, but they didn't go very deep. They're a taproot. They're supposed to go deep, but they stopped about here, and that's due to compact soil conditions, which is due from the rain. But we're still happy to get what we got, and we plucked a bunch of babies as well. My mother-in-law is going to make some creamed vegetables, so they use the smaller ones in that kind of a dish. Our onions pretty much getting to the point where we can't, where we need to start harvesting them. Our peas turned out really well. Like I said, this 4th picking of peas. We're in the process right now of we blanch them as well and freeze them. That's how we're storing them this year. And our green beans, 4th picking of them as well. And we're going to do the same. We're going to blanch them and freeze them. And our lettuce, it's got the, on some of the leaves, has the texture of sandpaper, but we had a salad this Friday and it was pretty darn good. But it's almost to the point where we have to compost it. Alright, Peace River Prepper out.